According to Canada's Chief Justice, the rule of law and the independence of judges are under attack around the world. Justice Wagner says he's not referring to any specific country, but it was in response to a question about the Trump administration defying court orders in the United States. Here's the Chief Justice at his annual news conference.
There is no doubt that the rule of law and the judicial independence is under attack in many countries in the world. You know, when you see governments attacking the media, attacking the judges, attacking the lawyers, and universities, of course, that means that there's a good chance that you're in front of a dictatorship, autocratic government. But there are many places in the world living through those events right now. And I think we have to be careful. So the message for the people is be careful, but be optimistic as well. Because in Canada, we have a strong legal system.
And Chief Justice Justice Wagner is with me in studio. Chief Justice, welcome back to CPAC.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
You know, I want to begin with your comments today about the rule of law facing threats around the world. It was a question about the United States, and you say you weren't singling out any one country, but do you believe, given what we're seeing in the United States, that America is potentially shifting towards autocratic rule or dictatorship because of the threats we're seeing to the judicial system?
Well, I'll let people decide on that issue. I didn't want to aim at one specific country because the problem is not limited to one country. We can see for the last couple of years that attack on the judicial independence and the rule of law, those attacks are present in many countries in the world. And that's why probably because that's why the reason why people are so anxious now, I think, in Canada, maybe because of the most recent events, I agree, but it's been like that for a few years now. And it's the Supreme Court of Canada is celebrating its 150th anniversary this year. And my colleagues and I have decided to visit 5 regions of Canada for that occasion. And we met people in Victoria, we met people in Moncton, and general public, students, high school students, law students, and they were all asking the same question. Do you think that what we see outside of Canada could come to Canada? And I said to them, you have reasons to be anxious. I mean, we've never seen that before, but I think you should be optimistic as well, because we have strong institutions in Canada compared to the other countries. We have traditions, we have a strong bench, we have good judges, well-trained, probably the most well-trained judges in the world, governed by ethical principles. And all the stakeholders in Canada will recognize and respect the separation of powers and the rule of law. So that's why I'm saying, yes, be concerned, be careful, but at the same time, keep faith. Keep faith in your institutions.
Okay, now a lot of justices, as you know, refrain from commenting at all to media. You do an annual news conference, you do these interviews. As the Chief Justice of Canada, do you feel you have a responsibility to speak out when you see this happening around the world, when you see these challenges to the rule of law, not just here in Canada, but as you say, in a lot of countries around the world, in democracies where we're seeing the justice system backsliding?
Yeah, I think we have a responsibility to make sure to keep the trust and confidence of the people. Because if you don't have the confidence and the trust of the people, that will jeopardize our democracy. And one way to do that is to inform the people. And there are so much disinformation these days that the way that our court has decided to act is to provide as much information as possible, the right information to the citizens, so that they would appreciate their institutions. It's very difficult to appreciate and to like something that you don't know really. So we have nothing to hide in Canada. We have very strong institutions in terms of governance, in terms of legal system, in terms of universities, law faculties, and I want people to know about it so that they will keep their faith in those institutions.
Okay, lots to talk about from that news conference you gave today. I want to talk about judicial vacancies because 2 years ago you wrote to the Prime Minister over vacancies on the bench. You said it was a serious problem with serious consequences for our justice system, not just cases being thrown out of court because of delays, but also the strain of the caseload on judges. Today you're saying there's been a 75% reduction in federally appointed vacancies. So is that having the intended effect on the administration of justice and reducing some of these problems you've talked about?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was a big, major increase in appointments. I'm very happy. Obviously, my letter worked properly. I hope I won't need to send another letter in the future, but it made a difference. It made a difference because there were some major problems because appointments were not made within a reasonable delay.
What do you see, though, as the future over the next few years for the state of our justice system, the capacity of our justice system? We've seen talk about overcrowded jails, about these continuing delays. Is the getting caught up on these judicial appointments, is that going to be enough? What else needs to be happening?
Well, access to justice will remain a challenge when we're talking about cost and delays. But I'm optimistic as well. I think that people realize, and governments have realized since we released the decision in Jordan, realized that they had to invest in the justice system. And I think that the governments, provincial governments as well, have invested. I think it's getting better. Appointments are made, but we have to look closely at the situation. It's an ongoing effort.
Right. Okay, we have a moment left. I want to change tack to something I found interesting in your news conference. You talked about artificial intelligence. That's what a lot of people are talking about today. Last fall, the Canadian Judicial Council issued some guidelines on AI for judges. Talk to us about the promise and the peril of that technology for the courts and how you see this technology being used going forward.
Now, you use the right words. There will be, and there is already, great advantage in AI. AI can produce very positive results. Management of files, for instance, in courts. But it creates also potential damages. And one of the topic in our guideline is to advise the judges that AI should never replace a judge in a judicial or legal analysis to come to a judgment. That's very clear. It will never replace a judge. The second issue is false information. We know recently in Ontario and in BC a couple of months ago, lawyers filed artificial jurisprudence that did not exist. So that's a danger of AI. So I think that people have a responsibility to make sure that everything that they file into the court record be real. And I think that lawyers have a responsibility. The law societies must be concerned as well. And that will avoid those problems.
All right, Chief Justice Richard Wagner, thanks for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time for us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.